Is Drew McIntyre prepared to tease a new matchup? Is Toni Storm afraid of Charlotte Flair? Will we see the New Day in a completely different light after this? I'm Casualeann. Come with me. So on December 11th, 2021, we are greeted by Jackie Redmond and Matt Kemp announcing that WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler will join us shortly. They go into the championship contendership match, Charlotte versus Toni Storm, and how Toni gained that victory. Following some frustration, Charlotte beat Toni up too much, so Charlotte got disqualified. More specifically, she didn't let up by the ref's count of 5, but still a little strange. So Kemp and Redmond once again reflect fan sentiment when they, relief evident in their voices, proclaim that the pie stuff is over. Yes, I'm happy too. Or as cautiously optimistic as I can be with the weird way their feud has been booked. Kayla Braxton is with Toni Storm, apparently post-beatdown because she's still holding her neck. She's still selling it. She asks if Charlotte is taking advantage of the fact that Toni is new. Toni says she may be new, but she's not scared, which Charlotte knows. That's why she's so frustrated. And that if anyone is scared, if anyone's a scared little girl, it's Charlotte. Braxton highlights the boss, Sasha Banks, offering Toni some positive words and wants to know Storm's thoughts on that. And Toni tells us that she's been a fan of Sasha's for years and that she's going to snatch the SmackDown Women's Championship not just for herself, but for the entire locker room and WWE Universe. If that doesn't sound like Charlotte being the female Roman Reigns, I don't know what does. It was kind of your quintessential babyface statement. This isn't just for me, it's for everybody. I ain't afraid of no Charlotte, and all that sort of thing. She's doing what she can with what she's been given. There just isn't a lot in terms of substance and nuance there, but it's not her fault. When asked about whether Toni Storm had gotten to Charlotte Flair, Jerry the King Lawler, he doesn't disappoint in being, well, Jerry the King Lawler. He says he doesn't know if Toni's gotten to Charlotte, but she's trying to, and the match for him was hotter than sunburn. Further, he enjoyed the pies, but this evening, Charlotte didn't put a pie in Toni's face. She put a foot in it. If she put her foot in the pie, does that mean the pie was good? Or if she can't cook and she put her foot in the pie, does that mean the pie was bad? I guess it doesn't matter because both the pies are gone. Jerry makes me long for the Attitude Era. As awful as parts of it may have been, as sexist as it may have been, man, it was a heck of a lot funnier. So Kemp asks if a disqualification victory means as much as getting a pinfall, and King, comfortable in his role as Captain Obvious, observes it absolutely is not as satisfying as a pinfall victory. What's more, he would get disqualified on purpose back in the day because he thought disqualification wins meant nothing. It's okay. We think the same thing. Redmond suggests that perhaps this is what the Queen was doing, getting intentionally disqualified. But Kemp offers a different view. He thinks Charlotte had trouble parsing out Toni's hybrid style. But even the disqualification win should give Toni a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. It should. But we'll see if it actually does. These days, it seems like no one gets an extended feud with Charlotte. It's just a path to the next pay-per-view loss, then on to the next one. But I'm a bit optimistic that Toni will at least get some nice exposure off of it. After some ads, we return with recap of Sonya and Naomi's one-on-one match with special guest ring announcer Natalya and special guest timekeeper Shayna Baszler. Naomi, sensing the danger she was in, attacked first, then was beaten down via the numbers game until Xia Li, the Protector, Slayer of Vultures, came to even the odds. So, what a lot of folks have been talking about, the augmented reality thing. I'm not gonna lie, at first, I thought she was just doing her full-blown entrance because, okay, she's debuting on the main roster. We need to get everything in full effect the first time she comes out. But when Pat McAfee actually started selling it, like, is this the most intimidating thing I've ever seen? I was so confused. Wait a minute. She's actually a superhero? Like, not a hero in terms of her bravery in the face of injustice, not that sort of everyday superhero. Those vignettes do come from real life stories that did happen to her, by the way. But physiologically she's supposed to have powers now? I'm all about suspending disbelief that this was a little bit far-fetched. You do still have some adults that are fans. And what's more, what about all the people watching live who aren't going to see any of that? I don't know how they're planning on handling that in the future, but again, if it's kind of sequestered to entrances or pyro or something, then that's more believable. That sort of thing is fine. We knew that Kane didn't actually conjure fire. Undertaker didn't actually call down lightning. But outside coming to the ring, those were specific moments within the development of long-running storylines that made sense. But I'm not going to count them out. I'll wait to see it play out. Other than that, though, this was sensational. They built her up so well. And once she finally got into the ring with Naomi and ran off Sonya and the Goon Squad, it made her look like a total butt kicker. And it would be cool to see she and Naomi go and fight for some justice together. Now, Redmond was selling the whole idea of the CGI thing a little bit less than Camp was. She calls it a cool entrance, while Camp says outright she had lightning coming out of her. And he quotes McAfee's question about, is this the most intimidating thing you've ever seen? This makes me think that there isn't even a consensus on how to treat the whole lightning thing. But he does highlight Zaya's striking ability as well. The topic switches to Drew McIntyre not being invited to the Battle Royal and his anger in the face of it. He and Sheamus had another amazing match, which McIntyre won. Camp reminds us of Drew's status as a two-time champion and his determination to prove himself in his latest tenure on SmackDown. Personally, I want to see another Drew Sheamus feud. They resulted in some stiff, inventive matches, each with their own story to tell. Plus, there's that history of them being best friends and the Scottish-Irish connection. Kayla Braxton has the SmackDown Warrior backstage. She mentioned Sheamus taunting him about not being invited to the Black Friday Invitational Battle Royal. So glad that Greensboro was a major plot point and not just the victim of a greedy move by WWE to exploit North Carolina wrestling fans who may or may not have been in the area for WrestleCade. McIntyre has clothes on, specifically the Don't Call Me a Weasel Bobby the Brain Heenan shirt. When asked if the victory was satisfying, he affirms it's always satisfying to get a victory over Sheamus and relays the Celtic Warrior turning on him so long ago. She doesn't really ask him anything necessarily, but he mentions having quality matches, reinventing himself, and going from the bottom all the way to the top, and Big D is getting the big W. Kayla asks who he'd like to square up in the ring with. And Drew's got an answer waiting. He says both of them have been wrestling for 20 plus years and have never faced each other before. Who is it, you might ask? Cesaro. He says it's gonna happen and talks about how great it'll be and apologizes in advance for kicking Cesaro's head off. What did I tell you about all that? Not even a month ago. Great match, or matches guaranteed, and it would elevate Cesaro. Yep. Kayla asks about the Christmas presents he's bought, a gateway into him talking about the shirt, and he ends with, you stick with me, you'll go straight to the top. You don't listen to me, you're never heard from again. Really nice send up there. He and Redmond discuss how Sheamus will be disgusted by this defeat, especially with him trying to be a mentor to Ridge Holland. Now, after a commercial break, conversation moves to the camaraderie of Canadian alpha males, Brock Lesnar and Sami Zayn. They were chummy there for just a moment. We got a morsel, just a little crumb of what a Brock-Sami bromance might look like. Then Paul Heyman reminded Brock of who he really was. Significantly, the future Universal Champion. And then the Beast was back, and boy, did he leave Zayn and his orderlies lame. Camp asks King about this iteration of Lesnar being the most dangerous one. And King echoes this sentiment, saying with the overalls and the flannel, he looked like Jason Voorhees without the hockey mask. One moment he's happy, the next he's murdering. So we don't know what to expect out of him. Camp asks about Brock Lesnar's control in the feud. And King talks about how Heyman knows what he's doing. He can't be trusted, and everything will turn out in his favor. Redmond asks about Brock referring to Heyman being his advocate. King notes Heyman's devious nature, and from there they move to the tag team triple threat match. The New Day versus the Usos versus RK Bro in the match for bragging rights. Who is the best tag team in the WWE. New Day ends up on top, and Megan Morant interviews them post-victory. They teach Morant how to announce their name right. Article and all, thank you, Dr. King Woods. Then she asks about how they feel having beat the Usos and RK Bro. Kofi notes they've been telling everyone they were the best tag team for years, and both he and Woods point out that they were already voted the greatest tag team on WWE.com. So Xavier didn't even know why they had to have the match. That's kind of heelish sounding, but I'm alright with it. Kofi lets us know that just because they don't currently have the belts doesn't mean they aren't champions. And what sucks about them having a stranglehold on the division for nearly a decade. That might have designs on the Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and NXT UK tag team titles. But they're just letting the other teams breathe until they want to take them back. Morant asks if defeating the Usos puts them next in line for a SmackDown tag team title shot. They literally just said they would take the championships when they're ready, but okay. Dr. King Woods points out that he beat Bobby Lashley and he beat Roman Reigns, but that didn't get him a title shot. But they probably will as a team and defeat the Usos and RK Bro. And he calls the New Day the Simone Biles of professional wrestling. They take a little extra time because Kofi runs over the wrap it up sign, apparently. My thing is, if this is where it goes over, fine. This is where you want it to go over. But guess where they went over time even more? Going back to Jerry the King Lawler. King is jealous of the size of Xavier's crown. Camp says that the New Day says that they were being graded on a curve. That is not what Xavier meant. Because Simone Biles competes at such a high level, and the skills she pulls out are so dangerous, they actually grade them down, not up. Have a look back at the interview and see if you get the same impression. My rating is 4 out of 5. They're doing better with the superstars' time, but they're keeping the third man perspective thing going, which is making the show a lot longer. I don't usually do this, but when I first went into the episode, I kind of scrubbed through to see who was on it. And between Toni Storm, Drew McIntyre, and the New Day, I had a feeling it was going to be a pretty good time. King Dr. X Woods and the arm of the King, Sir Kofi, are as animated and forceful as ever. And if they want to be the SmackDown, Raw, NXT UK, and NXT champions, you hear no problems coming out of me. Toni Storm articulates well her capacity to deal with a Charlotte Flair, sensing a formidable challenge. But the must-watch interview is Drew McIntyre. He hawks merch, evokes history, and spills aspirations, all with the same vigor. And if there's a third man to occasionally add to the shows, that's who you want. When he was on like every other episode of Raw Talk, it made for a legitimately better show. But I know they want to trot out the legends for historical context and whatnot, and there is value in that. What do you all think? How are the legends landing for you? Will Drew and Cesaro ever have a one-on-one match with a proper build? And what do you think of the New Day as quadruple champions? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tap that bell icon to make sure you get notifications for when new videos come out. Thank you all so much, as always, for watching, and I'll see you soon.